to wake up with purpose, knowing that everything you do has meaning. Stay tuned for this quote time video. To have an infinite expectation of the dawn. To have an infinite expectation of the dawn. To wake up and to know that everything you do has meaning. Stay tuned for this quote time video. To wake up every day and know that everything you do has meaning. Stay tuned for this quote time video. Hi guys! Hi guys! I'm so excited to be here and have another opportunity to grow, to learn, and to be inspired with you. Today's quote is very special, and it comes from Henry David Thoreau, who was an American philosopher, essayist, and poet who lived in the 19th century. Thoreau is famous for having written a book called Walden, which is a collection of essays. I first read this book when I was 17. I don't remember what it meant to me then, but I know what it means to me now. Thoreau wrote these essays when he was 27, and they are so full of wisdom, of a power of observation that is rare. And Thoreau, why Walden is special? Well, apart from the fact that it has inspired generations and generations of leaders, artists, and thinkers throughout time, what happened is that Thoreau was grief-stricken by the death of his brother in 1854. No. Henry David Thoreau was an American essayist who lived in the 19th century. Henry David Thoreau was an American essayist, philosopher, and poet who lived in the 19th century. He was famous for writing the book Walden. Damn it. Today's quote comes from Henry David Thoreau, who was an American essayist, poet, and philosopher who lived in the 19th century. Thoreau is most famous for having written a book. Thoreau is most famous for having written a book called Walden, which is a collection of essays. I first read Walden when I was 17. I don't remember what it meant to me then, but I know what it means to me now. And Thoreau wrote this when he was 27 years old in 1845. And at the time Thoreau was grief-stricken. It had been a few years since And at the time Thoreau was still grief-stricken, it had been a few years since his brother had died. Thoreau was best friends with Ralph Waldo Emerson, the famous American transcendentalist. And Emerson encouraged him to write poetry. He encouraged him to really look within himself. So one day Thoreau decided to go into the woods to live in what he called an experiment in solitude. And he built a cabin on Walden Pond, which is a lake in Concord, Massachusetts. And he built a cabin which is a lake in Concord, Massachusetts. And he lived there for 2 years, mostly in solitude. There were times that people came to visit him. But what he did was something a lot of us want to do sometime, which is sort of go away for a little while, be in nature, commune with ourselves. And Thoreau wanted to see, he wanted to know what he needed to live, not just physically, but spiritually. And at an amazing 27 years old, he was able to capture so many different truths of humanity, so many different thoughts and ideas that capture the imaginations and the minds and the souls of so many people, including myself. So in this quote, so let's get inspired from Walden. So let's get inspired from Walden. So let's get inspired. A quote. So let's get inspired. Today's quote from Walden. We must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn, which does not forsake us in our soundest sleep. What does this mean? It means purpose. So let's get inspired. Today's quote from Walden. Today's quote from Henry David Thoreau. We must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn, which does not forsake us in our soundest sleep. I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by a conscious endeavor. Beautiful. So what does that mean? What does a conscious endeavor mean? To me, it means purpose. A conscious endeavor means waking up to do what you were meant to do, to have a job, to make a living doing something that means something to you, that matters. And what does having an infinite expectation of the dawn mean? To me, an infinite expectation of the dawn is the difference between a job and a calling. When I was in the Air Force, I had a job. It was a job I was proud of. It was a job I woke up every day to do my best in. But it was very difficult. And I did not wake up necessarily with an expectation or a hopefulness or a desire to necessarily go to work. I did it, and I did the best I could. And I have throughout my life in everything I've done. But for so long, for so many years, I've worked extremely hard and done my best at things that didn't necessarily feel like I was doing what I was meant to do. It is only now that I have reached a stage in my life where I feel like this is what I was meant to do. This is a conscious endeavor that produces an infinite expectation of the dawn for me. For me, every video, every time I stand behind a camera, for me, every video, every time I stand in front of a camera to make a video, to me, every time I stand in front of a camera to make a video for you, is an opportunity to inspire. It's an opportunity to help somebody. It's an opportunity to make it's an opportunity to me, every time I make a video, it's an opportunity to reach people. To me, every time I stand in front of the camera and make a video for you, it's an opportunity to reach people. It's an opportunity to inspire, to help, to reach someone else's soul. And what that means for me is that every video is an infinite expectation of the dawn. Even now, when it seems like nobody's watching my videos, I feel a deep purpose. This is what everything that I have done in my entire life has come down to. What all my experiences have coalesced. All my efforts, all my talents come so that I can make these videos. And when I wake up, I have that infinite expectation of the dawn, as Thoreau calls it. And Thoreau says, we must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, and Thoreau says we must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, but by an infinite. And Thoreau says we must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids. So, is he implying that most of us are asleep? I think what he means, 100 and some years ago, actually, it's almost 200 now. I'm not the greatest with math, but 1845. And Thoreau says we must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake. And Thoreau says we must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids. So is he implying that most of us are asleep? I don't think so. I think, or maybe yes, but I think what it means is that so many people are caught in a bit of a hamster wheel of some sort, doing things by rote, by routine, doing things where they're not inspired necessarily. And being inspired doesn't mean doing whatever you want, or or let's just say that having a conscious endeavor doesn't always line up with a purpose or your purpose or the ultimate purpose of your life. When I was in the Air Force, when I was in the Air Force, I had a conscious endeavor. I had a job. I was protecting this nation, and I woke up and I did that every day proudly. But it wasn't necessarily a conscious endeavor that aligned with what I felt was the calling of my life. In the past, when I have toiled and made an effort in school or at whatever job I was doing, thinking to myself, you know, I have a dream, I'm going to do something, I'm going to make a difference, I'm going to make movies. I was working hard, and many times along that road, it seemed like I was not only failing, but I was on the completely different, map that I needed to be on in my life. But the conscious endeavor was always there. That effort to make the best I could was always something I did. I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by a conscious endeavor. There are many times, many stages to life, and there are many, I think, conscious endeavors along those stages. I think a conscious endeavor is an understanding, a responsibility of doing whatever job you are doing the best way you can. And somewhere along that road, you will wake up one day and feel this joy, this purpose, this infinite expectation of the dawn. And when you do, there is nothing more inspiring than knowing that everything you do, every step you take, is leading you in that direction. In a direction of continuing to be inspired, of continuing to expect. That awakening, that beauty, that truly is inner purpose. And that infinite expectation of the infinite expectation of the dawn, that purpose, is not something anyone else can ever give you. It does not forsake us in our soundest sleep. We are never alone. When we have purpose, when we have a desire to keep moving forward because we believe in something, we are never alone. And there are some who believe, who say that we are never alone. We are never alone. And there are some people who say that they are going to give us purpose, that their job is, or their calling is to give you purpose. That raises a red flag with me immediately, because it shows to me the lack of understanding that person has. It's not possible to give anybody purpose. There is no such thing. What we can do is be inspired by somebody else's purpose, by somebody else's effort, and that inspiration can inspire us to find our own purpose. But purpose something like an infinite expectation of the dawn, comes deep, deep from within our souls. Being able to elevate our lives by a conscious endeavor is also something that comes from our souls. The nature of people's souls is determined by their actions in many cases. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't matter what circumstances you're in or what job you may have, whether you like it or don't like it. Living with a conscious endeavor means doing that job, living that life in that moment the best way you can, most graciously, most dignified, most grateful for what you have and for the experiences you're going to garner and where they might lead you. Because to get to a place where you have an infinite expectation of the dawn, you have to have joy. You have to work hard. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to believe that no matter what you do, you will eventually get to a place that you feel is your calling. And when Thoreau says we must keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, what I think of by mechanical aids is not necessarily an alarm clock, right? It's so many things. It's so many external things. It's so many of the crutches that people rely on these days, that are perhaps superficial, that are maybe inadequate. False pride, adulation, so many things in our modern world today that muddy the waters and make it so much harder for us to see a clear path, to live a life of clarity, to do a job well done, even if it's not what you want, even if you think you're not happy. Happiness is hard work. Happiness is a road. It's not necessarily a destination. It's a continuous effort. It's a continuous conscious endeavor. And we can have a continuous expectation of hope, of beauty, of love, of health, of so many things that help us to continue to take care of that joy that's inside us. Because once you wake up and you see the beauty that is all around you, not just the physical beauty, but the beauty in people, the beauty in the things we can't see, that is what leads to that infinite expectation. So each video I make, to me, produces this wonderful expectation of the dawn of the possibilities, of the people I can reach. Is not necessarily the actual video itself, it's what it represents. It's what I give of myself. That I know can make a difference in people's lives. Because so many people whom I admire have given me so much, including Thoreau with his essays, his book, and in this quote. Thoreau, in this case, Thoreau's contemplation, Thoreau's experiment, his desire to have written this down and given it to us has come to me, and it has made me think, it has made me question, it has made me understand something about my life in a way that perhaps I didn't before, or in a way that has reassured me that I am on the right path. And that is the beauty of wisdom, and that is the beauty of wisdom, and that is the beauty of wisdom and the timeless quality. And that is the beauty of wisdom and the timeless quality that great ideas and great thoughts can have. So what do you guys think? So what do you guys think of this quote? So what do you guys think of this quote? What do you guys think of this quote? Do you have a conscious endeavor? Do you wake up with an infinite expectation of the dawn? Do you think it means purpose? If you're new to the Happy Now Olivia community, my name is Olivia, and I'm passionate about being happy and healthy. And I believe we are all responsible for our own happiness. And I believe anyone who puts in the work can be happy now. If you enjoyed this video and this quote, please subscribe. Why? Because I share with you everything that I've learned and that I'm still learning about being happy and healthy. And so we can be inspired together every day. I truly believe that happiness and positivity can spread millions of times more than hate and negativity, and they can change the world, one person at a time. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next video. Thanks for watching, guys. I can't wait to be inspired. Next video.